Hi, welcome to the this update of Trippin Engles, and we have an interesting update for you. We left Hershey, Pennsylvania at the end of April, heading up to northern New York, where we were going to our cabin to get it fixed up so we can rent it out for the month of July, August, and September. And in leaving Hershey, we're going out from a two-lane road to a busy highway, another two-lane road, and I was totally focused on swinging out and watching the traffic and stuff like that, and I ended up brushing a power pole. The RV geeks have a great tutorial on watching the rear overhang when you're making corners and stuff like that, and I've watched that, and I thought I had it down. And we've driven at this point nearly 4,000 miles across the southern United States, going from Sacramento to Florida, establishing our domicile, and then heading up north to New York. And I thought I had it all pretty well down. So I've had the exposure of what to be aware of when you're driving an RV, and the one that's as long as the RV that we've got, to make sure that you take all these things into account. And I was so focused on the traffic. The highway was pretty busy, and so I was watching traffic going in both directions, and it looked like I had a nice spot to swing out and go into the traffic. And I pulled out onto the highway, and making the swing so I didn't turn into oncoming traffic, I brushed up against the power pole. In retrospect, in thinking about what needed to be done, I did check my rear view mirror, but I just completely missed that the power pole was there. So as I swung out, I heard and felt a crunch along the side of the RV. Christine was in the pilot driving behind me and let me know that the pole was okay. So just Lola that had the damage to it. Backed up a little bit. Fortunately, the oncoming traffic paused, so I was able to swing out more into the second lane of the highway and then go ahead and go down the road. We traveled down a little ways and stopped at the first truck stop that was available, and got it fueled and took a look at the damage. And well, it was bad. Two compartment doors were crunched in, and the trim work along the siding was scratched, and our awning was scratched a little bit. It was about 400 miles from Hershey, Pennsylvania to where we are staying in Louisville, New York. Originally we were going to stop and camp just north of Syracuse to break up the trip a little bit. And we decided to go ahead and push on through and drive on to Louisville, where we've got our cabin, and take a look and kind of figure out what we're going to do at that point. Didn't want a chance taking the slider out at a camp location because I could see that it was damaged a little bit, scratched up, and it didn't look like the slider was damaged, but I couldn't tell for sure. And so I didn't want to get stuck with the slider out, not being able to bring it back in and not have a place to stay at if we had to take the RV in to get repaired. So we went ahead and went up to Louisville, and once we got all situated, we started doing some searches on the internet as far as RV repair in the area, and there really wasn't much of anything at all. So a couple things I learned as far as doing internet searches when you're in a collision. You do a search on RV repair and you get everything. You get air conditioning, you get engine repair and everything. So I finally narrowed it down to collision, RV collision repair. Nothing, the closest thing that we had was Camping World in Syracuse, which is about a 3-hour drive away. And so 6 hours back and forth. If any questions came up, it didn't really appeal to be spending a whole day driving back and forth during the repair process, if we had to do anything. So the closest town that we are at here in Louisville is actually Cornwall, Ontario, Canada. So did a search on RV collision repair in the Cornwall area and came up with BGM RV repair halfway between Cornwall and Ottawa. And so gave them a call, talked to Brian, the owner there at the RV repair, BGM RV repair, and explained to him what the situation was and that we were going to be in Louisville for about a month, and we would really, really like to have the RV repaired that time frame so we could get back on the road. And we have renters coming in. So at that point, there's a point that we're going to be homeless, more or less, if we don't have an RV. And so he felt, I sent him pictures and an email describing the damage. He asked to have not only front pictures, but also pictures from along the side so he could see how much the doors were caved in, if at all. And they were. The brackets were actually bent in a little bit. And so he put together an estimate as far as the labor is concerned, a listing of parts that appeared to be damaged based on the photographs. Then in the meantime, we called our insurance agent, the insurance company, Geico, and they scheduled an adjuster to come out. The nice thing about doing it this way is that by the time the Geico insurance adjuster came out to take a look at it, we had actually received and printed out the rough estimate that we got from BGM Repair. So it was a detailed listing of the body work that needed to be done and the labor, listing of parts without the prices for the parts, but at least it had the listing of parts that he could see that needed to be fixed and replaced or repaired. And so after talking with the agent, we checked out some other places. There really wasn't a whole lot of choices here. And so we drove up to BGM Auto Repair, or RV Repair, and took a look at their facility, met Brian. A very nice facility. They're about halfway between Ottawa and Cornwall, kind of an out of the way place, but they have a relationship with some of the dealers in the area, including all the way up to Ottawa, and known for the type of the quality of work that they do and being able to match paint. And one of the things, once you take a look at the side of your RV and see what's been damaged or scratched, you realize that in our case we had 4 different colors, up to 4 different colors on the compartment doors that had to be matched and blended in with the paint job to do the repair work. He had dealt with Winnebago. He's had actually experience in dealing with Geico, even though Geico's not up in Canada. They do have coverage for people who have damage in Canada. So he had experience dealing with the insurance companies, dealing with RVs, and he had a schedule that should be met our time frame. So we dropped off Lola, and he immediately contacted Winnebago, got the parts prices for the compartment doors, and got that information to Geico, got the parts on order so that they could be manufactured. So Winnebago keeps the information on the parts, but for an RV that's our age, 2008, they actually have to build the doors, build the parts that need to be replaced, and so that takes a while to set up the assembly line and create the parts and get everything all done. Also, being the fact that we had the repair work being done in Canada, we ended up getting an international adjuster to actually work with Geico, from Geico, to work directly with BGM. Because initially, when they were looking at it, they were going to send us a check, and we were going to. There was of course complications that we were dealing with, but so far, both BGM RV Repair and Geico have been wonderful to work with to get this all resolved. Also, besides ordering the parts for Lola, BGM also went ahead and prepped the area, the existing area that needed to be repainted. So basically we got down to a point where our renters had come in. Of course, BGM received the doors, but not all the brackets, so there's been some delays Fortunately, we have some friends that we're staying with here in the area, and so we are not completely homeless. But if, you know, that really shows a consideration. If we didn't have a place to stay, we would either have, and with 3 dogs, that makes it a real big challenge to try to find some place if we don't have a place to stay. We'd have to either work out with BGM, be able to stay in Lola while the work was being done, or possibly they do have some RVs that are for sale, maybe renting one of those. Doesn't look like that's going to be necessary. We've got, as I said, we've got some friends that are allowing us to impose on them, and they have some dogs themselves and a nice secure area for our dogs to be in. So we really appreciate the fact that we've got some backup plans. If we were out in the middle of nowhere, boy, it would be a big challenge. Hi, I'm at BGM RV Repair in Chesterville, Ontario, Canada. Well, as you can see in the background there, a lot of the body work has already been done, and they are just waiting for the parts to arrive. And so it's exciting to see the work progress. As it turns out, it looks like things are getting done. The renter is in the cabin now, and we are over at our friend's house, and we are looking at having Lola repaired the middle to end of next week. So things are looking good. Doors have been received, but they were missing some brackets in order to hang the doors there. So once that gets in, we're looking at about 3 days of paint work to be done, and we will be on our road to Maine with a little bit of luck, hopefully towards the end of next week. Got our fingers crossed. So that's our update for the our first part of our trip. We are ready to get on the road again, and looking forward to visiting Maine and seeing some of the sites that are around the U.S. Thanks for listening, and this has been a RV Built for Two Trippin Engles update.